for your YouTube channel just so you can watch yourself and moderate any comments or anything?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Cool.
And then just look at the video that's on your channel. And we're
Excellent.
live.
All right, cool. You good to go?
Yep.
I just want to welcome everyone tuning in all over the world. My name is Andrew Radziewicz. I am currently in Melbourne, Australia. And some of you might know I'm originally from New York, and America is still a big part of my heart. Love you guys. And from the California area, we have Geraldine Orozco. I'll just do a brief intro for her as well. So Geraldine, just want to say a few words and we'll get into it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. First of all, thank you so much for having me here. It's such an honor to be here and to share with Andrew. Andrew's incredible. And yeah, I'm a clinical hypnotherapist and I specialize in something called epigenetic psychotherapy. I have an international support group for contactees and experiencers that are experiencing ET contact, either hybridization or any kind of ET contact. So Andrew's a longtime friend and it's an honor to be here. So thank you for having me, Andrew.
Oh, you're very welcome. This is great. I'm so glad we finally got to do this. There's
Yeah.
so much happening all over the world with contact, UFO sightings, stuff from the government. I mean, you and I have known for many, many years about this reality and what's going on. And I've interacted with people from New York out to California when I was out in right near Joshua Tree and then Palm Springs. I've been to Germany, Switzerland, now Melbourne, Australia. And it's the same thing everywhere I go. There's people communicating with extraterrestrials. They're having psychic phenomena occur, synchronicity, all sorts of wonderful experiences. And what's beautiful about this is connecting myself here with people here back to America and beyond, of course. There's higher realms and higher intelligences as well. And what I really like is there's a beautiful community that's been arising out of this. And I've noticed that people have come and they want more after a session. They'll sit with me. I'm a psychic medium. I've always had this ability. I really tapped into it the last 12 years, I would say, and really, really got into it the past 2, 3 years. And now it's amazing doing readings with people. And then even after the readings, I'll get together with people and do some psychic development. And I've been able to sit with people and teach them very basic silent meditation or transcendental meditation and have them tap into their psychic abilities. Because I believe, based on my experience, that we all have psychic abilities that are enfolded within us, kind of like an onion. And as we meditate or as we go through trauma or out of body experience, near death experiences, people have come to me and they have had these psychic phenomena type occurrences happen. And by training on these and doing this on a daily basis, I've learned how to turn this stuff on and off. And I've been able to teach people now all over the world how to start to turn this stuff on and off. How about yourself, Geraldine? Are you noticing things like that with people that you're speaking with and clients that you've met over the years?
Oh my gosh, yes. I have been a lifelong experiencer, and my my conscious contact experience happened in 2013. And at that time, even when I would Google ET contact or try to find the language, because you really do need to know the language in order to find support. And that's something that we kind of have to kind of educate, or there's a learning curve for new experiencers when they come into the phenomena, how to explain what they're experiencing, identifying the symptoms, the patterns. And without connecting with other experiencers, finding those similarities and finding those patterns can be really, really difficult. So there is kind of a learning curve, and I went through that. And it took me actually 5 years myself to be able to find any kind of community or support that I would be able to relate to. And I was able to find a support group that when I met with them, I realized, wow, lots of people are having these experiences. So it's almost as if we have gone through a hyper jump since 2017 until today. And I feel that not only do I feel it, but I know interdimensionally we are moving into an era where the veils have been thinning so much that our interdimensional contact, our interdimensional awareness, the utilization of our higher faculties, our intuitive abilities are really coming to play here more than ever. And the amount of people that are coming forth with their contact experiences is just amazing. When I travel around doing conferences and meeting people, it used to be one or two people would raise their hand and say, I'm contactees. But now over the years, I mean, 80% of the room will respond and say, yes, I have had some kind of contact. I've had dreams. Now that you and I both have been dedicated our time to sharing symptoms of contact, how to identify that you're an experiencer. All of these things are really important to educate the masses so that they understand that what they're experiencing isn't always some kind of psychological disorder or some kind of physical ailment, because there's a lot of intricacies to contact that are both physical, psychological, and somatic. So we want to kind of touch on those. We can touch on those a little bit today, but talk about, the importance of that and share what does it mean to be a contactee? Are you a contactee? So I would love to dive deep into those topics as well.
Yeah, this is great because I've had people come to me who have lost a loved one or a pet or, just somebody down the block or just went through something in life and they want some answers, they want some resolution. And what I've noticed is when I started doing readings with people, I'd sit, I go into a meditative state. So I just sit in silence for a few minutes, 3, 4 minutes. And then all of a sudden for me, I'll feel it's kind of like a little tiny electrical impulse. I don't want to say a shock, it's not that dramatic, but I'll feel a little tingle going up my spine. And I could start to feel myself, what I call opening up, my third eye opening. And then I will see black and white images come through. And these images relate to me, the person that I'm sitting with. It'll show me images from their past, present, sometimes their future, of things that they have experienced or their loved ones have experienced. And while doing this outside, UFOs started appearing during these readings. And this is something that we've been able to document, get footage of, in night vision, in regular vision. You can see it with your naked eye. It's no secret that these intelligences are paying attention to what we're doing down here on the ground. And that's something at first I thought was totally separate. When at first I thought psychic work was one thing and UFOs and everything else is just something different, I'm realizing that it's intertwined. And the validation I get on a daily basis is from clients, people coming to me, family, friends, loved ones. Now they're opening up. Now they're talking about contact experiences. People are remembering, or for the first time, even sharing their contact experiences. And I could say this personally. My mom told me recently, she said that she had a UFO encounter in 1970. And that's something I did not know for a long time. I didn't know it till recently. And I'm like, wow, I wish I would have known that like 20 years ago. Oh my, that would have made sense to a lot of things that I'm experiencing. Maybe it could have put some pieces together. But what I've also learned along this journey is to respect other people's journeys. And if somebody says something to me like, oh, I experienced this, but it was 10 years ago, 20 years ago, I just listen. I just listen now. I'm there for them. This is not an easy thing to talk about. It is definitely not easy to talk about publicly. My family, friends, a lot of them don't want anything to do with that. They'll talk about this all day with me off the record. They're just like, don't mention my name, don't say anything, but it's unavoidable. When you're experiencing this stuff, it happens over and over. I notice patterns with this. I notice that it happens in volumes. And then there's an interesting merger when people lose a loved one, when death occurs, and this phenomena happens coincidentally. It's like you have someone pass away, and I've heard this plenty of times. Someone will go outside, they'll be grieving, they'll be calling out to a loved one, and then a light appears or something zips across the sky fast. This has happened to me over and over the years. This has happened to plenty of my friends, plenty of people that I've done readings with. My understanding is that there is a connection with our loved ones here that are alive and the ones that are departed, and these lights and these objects in the sky. And this has kind of been part of my mission, is to piece this together with people. I know that bringing up someone's loved ones and connecting them with their departed loved ones is a nice way to settle people, to, give them validation, to comfort them. For some people, it provides closure. Not everyone, and it's not going to work for everyone, but for some people, it also plants a seed, and it's a beginning. It's a beginning point for them. Some people completely change their life. Some people do it a little bit. They do it subtly over time. And what I noticed too is, once you get into this stuff, UFOs, psychic stuff, there's no pulling away. Even if you try to remove yourself, or, you get into this profession, or you choose this as a lifestyle. I know people that have tried to, walk away, or I can't do it anymore. And it pulls you back, because my feeling is, there's something inside of us that's seated within us that we are connected to and attached to. And no matter what we do, you're still attached to it. So it's quite fascinating whether you're doing this and you've turned your life over and completely submerge yourself in this, or you just look at this at night randomly, or late at night, you're just scrolling through the internet and looking things up. This is a calling. This pulls people in. And by having this amazing support network out there, and it's something I wanted to get into, I know that you have a experiencer group, or you have a hybrid support group. Is that correct, Geraldine? You have something, is that worldwide that you have that?
Yeah, so I have an international experiencer group, and we have different kinds of meetings depending on what we're addressing in the group. But it is really, really awesome. And people from all around the world come to share their experiences, share their contact. And sometimes some people, they don't always share. They just come in to listen. Sometimes it takes a couple visits to the group for people to, build the courage to be able to tell their story. Because as you mentioned, it is very difficult to talk about some of these things. Not only do we not know the language to use to express them, but to identify the kind of contact that we're having, to know if what we've been experiencing really is ET contact. Because this phenomena is so it's very interdimensional. It's interdimensional, and we are learning about our own interdimensional nature. As we learn about our own interdimensional nature, we begin to understand that we're actually moving in and out of dimensions at all times. We're experiencing, and there's people present, entities, essences all around us at all times. And you know that, Andrew, because you can tune into these entities that are around us at all times. But different vibrational frequencies of entities are the ones that we're interacting with, and some of them we can only access through dream state or dream time. So a lot of this contact does occur in dream state. It comes as incredibly vivid dream experiences, and some of this contact happens in waking state. So because of that kind of nature of this phenomena, it can be very difficult for someone to pinpoint, how do you define what's real? How do you define what's unreal or not real? So this is something that we are learning how to navigate and how to construct clear ideas. So in the support group, we talk about the many kinds. I have I'm actually building an app for experiencers to be able to identify symptoms of contact, everything from physical, psychological, everything from the smells that you're smelling, the taste that you taste when you wake up in the morning, sensations that you have, sometimes bodily fluids in the body, markings on the body, scars on the body. All of these play an element in ET contact. So learning how to identify them and classify them is a complex thing, but we do learn how to uncover them. And I will say that we do also have military interactions that people do experience, and we discuss them as well. So that's what our support group is really about. We provide support. And of course, as a clinical hypnotherapist, my job is to assist people that are experiencing PTSD or any kind of psychological trauma, because it can be not only isolating, having this contact, as you know, my own story and your own story, not really being able to talk to other people about this openly can really make you feel like you're living a double life. And so the idea is to be able to integrate these experiences as a whole self and be able to live in society normally. And so that's the goal with these kinds of therapies, both the support group. You hear other people's experiences, and there is a powerful healing effect in validation. Um, there's a powerful integration that occurs when you hear other people experiencing the exact same little details that you've been experiencing, and it's a very interesting phenomena. And we're talking about people from different parts of the world: Australia, New Zealand, India, United States, and they share these similar experiences. So the phenomena does have a kind of guideline in how it carries out. And so the healing opportunities that are available are through hypnotherapy, epigenetic psychotherapy, in which we go deep into the subconscious mind. We recall the memories that we can't remember, because a lot of the memories are difficult to access sometimes when people experience trauma, and allow them to reintegrate them by visualizing and seeing them and experiencing from a safe place. In hypnotherapy, people can become very clear about the kind of contact, nature of that contact. The majority of trauma that occurs from ET contact is usually when people, there's a disconnect between our reality and this other potential reality. So when we of course see things, we put it through our own human filter, and because our human filter is very limited, oftentimes that can cause a lot of trauma and disconnect. So usually these kinds of therapies, from the support group to hypnotherapy, can help them view it in a way that they look at from different perspectives, and that can be really, really liberating and healing. So this is what we do.
Yeah, that's really important because I know when I started this journey and I started to communicate with other people, wow, it was great. It was like this giant weight just got lifted off of me. I said, wow, I'm at the time, you're going back to around 2010-ish, 2011-ish, and I'm working in New York as a New York City firefighter and going to work, doing what I got to do. And then when I'm not at work, I'm going on the weekend and doing psychic training and talking to other people in the room. I was not all over social media at first. I was just talking with people, and I'd go to work and I'm like, I don't want anyone to know. I just want to go to work, be left alone, do my 20 years, get out of here, always looking for something else. And no one can find out because it's going to sound so absurd if they hear what I'm really doing, but now this has changed. The conversation has changed. It's completely different. I feel way more comfortable today talking about this than I did 10, 12 years ago. I mean, there was not places to go at first. Like I said, I had to physically go there in person. Now with the internet, and whether we're in COVID, out of COVID, whatever crisis is coming, there is a network, there's support network out there of people you can reach out to, and pretty much 24/7. It's great to just check in with people. You could run questions by them. You could, look at conferences online. You can listen to a podcast. There's all sorts of great stuff out there. Reading was a huge thing, all of this stuff coming together and talking with people, even in the medical field, PhDs, some people that were ex-military, people that are intelligence officers. People are experiencing this at all different levels. It's not just people walking around wearing crystals and hugging trees, like people have said to me. I said, it is not that at all. It is people you would never expect. Some of the most interesting stories I've ever heard in my life were people that will never go public. They will never tell anyone what really happened, because I know I've had them come up to me in the firehouse, some real, old school firefighters or guys, 20, 30 years on the fire department, who said, listen, this is what happened to me, man. I saw this when I was a kid. Don't tell anyone I said this. I said, I'm not going to tell anyone, but at least we could talk about that. And then outside of work, hey, why don't you come by my place? I live right on the beach in Brooklyn. I had a couple guys come by from work and we had contacts. So even people that had experiences previous to me meeting them, or even if they had negative experiences previously to me meeting them, I've had people come to me. I've taken them out on the beach at night, or even on the beach here where I live in Australia. And then we've had peaceful contacts. That was proactive. So there was no intruding lights coming in the room, no abduction phenomena, nothing like that when people have come to me to do some healing and some proactive contact through CE5. That's close encounter of the fifth kind. There are many different methods of contact. CE5 is one that I learned in 2011, how to proactively communicate with extraterrestrials, UFOs, and I say beyond, because like you mentioned before, there is an interdimensional element to this. Absolutely. I can't tell you for sure everything that's involved. There's so much involved with this. And when you look more and more into this, sometimes it can get very confusing. So I always, people say to me, do you have a recommendation for me? I'm just starting out. What do I do? I said, well, I can't tell you to do anything. You're going to do what you want, but I could just tell you what I did and my experience with this. I was very fortunate early on to find people that had 20, 30 years looking into this stuff or communicating with these entities, these extraterrestrials. And I went and I was like a sponge. I was new and I just wanted to absorb as much as I could from people and listen to what they were saying. So I started to read. And at first, like I said, I did not go on the internet. I was not all over posting photos and videos. I only did that the last like 5 years. I just started taking photos. For the first many years, I did not want any proof. I did not want anything associated with me. And I also didn't want to get distracted because a lot of times when you make contact, if you're focused on your iPhone or a night vision camera, you're kind of missing out on the experience there on the ground. So I would always joke with people and say, man, I just want the most amazing professional film crew to come here and please just film. You guys do your magic. Let me sit here and do mine. And I just want to be in the moment because there's nothing better sitting with people that have gone through this too and are here with a similar intent. When you send that intent out to the universe, I've noticed that I've gotten that same reaction back. So the intention is positive, the reaction back has been positive. I personally have not experienced a negative experience. Yes, if I did more aggression to look into it deeper, perhaps we could, unfold and look into that more. But as far as I know, consciously, if I'm communicating that with you and people listening now, from what I've experienced, and definitely proactively, there is nothing negative that has happened because I've always put out that positive intention. So I wanted to ask you this. What do you do if you have someone that came to you and they had negative traumatic experiences? What do you do to work with them to either change that narrative or to just really look into it and hear what they are trying to say and really help them get some answers to what's going on? How do you approach that as a professional in what you're doing?
Yeah, so I love that you asked that question because, let's talk about this. Essentially, the nature of our reality is vibrational frequency. Okay, so and because we're dealing with an interdimensional phenomena, frequency is the key to navigating these experiences. Full stop. And if you really understand that at the core, you can understand that you can direct and you can change and you can shift and you can change the perception of the kind of experience that you're having. Okay. So when people come to me, just to be clear, background, I have contact since I was 5 years old, and many of those experiences were very interesting experiences as a participant in the hybridization program. And because of the amount of spiritual meditation and grounding and emotional balancing that I did in my life in order to embody a kind of 0 point, when I became aware of the additional events that I didn't experience consciously, some of those could have been perceived as traumatic and shocking. And for my family, it was shocking to hear those things when it came out in the film documentary Extraordinary Seeding, because this is something that's new for many people. It's not new historically, and that's another conversation for another time, but we've been having ET contact for centuries, generations, and we have the proof of that historically in ancient archaeology, ancient texts of every kind from every corner of the world. So that being said, this ET contact is nothing new, but the way that we talk about it and the way that we communicate with one another is changing now, right? So depending on what the person has experienced, it's the same techniques that have been utilized in ancient civilizations such as Egypt, such as the Mayans, such as the Hindus, in every part of the world that has had the history of ET contact on some level, talks about how the body becomes an instrument of interdimensional navigation. When we embody high vibrations in our physical body, when we activate and we deprogram fear-based programs of separation, where we want to see things as the other and ourselves, whatever it is, physical, friends, family, mom, dad, husband, or these interdimensional beings, we are learning as a society, as a humanity, how to begin to look at things from more of a collective conscious perspective. So the idea is how to break down those walls. And this is really at the core of everything I do. Now, on the surface level, this is achieved through hypnotherapy. Okay, so in hypnotherapy, I take my clients down into the subconscious mind where they have a very safe place to be able to revisit some of these experiences, because a lot of what causes the trauma is the unknown element of the contact. They simply don't know what happened. All they remember is a bright light in the room, and then they lose time for about 3 hours. And then they come back and they don't understand what happened. So those can be very traumatic things when we don't have like the physical, emotional connection to those experiences. So the idea is through hypnotherapy to be able to revive those memories from the hologram of the physical body and allow them to gently integrate these experiences. And what you discover is that a lot of this contact is actually positive. It is a lot of healing that is occurring interdimensionally. People are healing from diseases. People are shifting. People, are really activating. They're being taught. They are learning. Lots of people claim being in classrooms to learning how to activate their intuitive abilities, healing parts of their bodies, so it's really profound, the kind of experiences that are being held here. And from another element, let's say from the darker filter, you can say there are elements, but most of the darker elements that I see are usually when there is military involvement. Okay. And that's a topic we can talk about and dive into at another conversation. But most of the interdimensional contact is actually something that can be very promotive for the human. So when we uncover this, there is a profound peace, healing, and integration that the human experiences. And they not only remember who they are, because a lot of times they discover that their contact with these beings is something that they've had many lifetimes, or what you call simultaneous timelines. And also it's been intergenerational. So like you discovered, mom had ET contact at some point. Most of my contactees have a family that have tons of ET contact, including my own. So this is interesting. And of course, my take on this and my research is about holographic DNA, talking about how ET contact is actually embedded and encoded in our DNA and how we inherit that generationally, right? So I've been doing a lot of research about the hybridization program and the DNA genetic lineages to these bloodlines historically, how humanity has kind of evolved from those points of origins. So this is kind of my passion project in the area of my main expertise. But all of this tools and information is applied to help the human transcend and transmute from trauma into clarity, to understanding. It is all about becoming friends with the unknown and learning how to navigate fearful circumstances from that filter of fear, essentially.
Yeah, that's interesting because, I would always solve a problem, right? With whatever comes up in life, things happen in life. All right, I got to solve something. Let me ask someone for help. So if I'm trying to solve something, I try to find someone that has experience, not just a few days, a few weeks, preferably, but maybe years. And sometimes you have to think outside the box. That's a very famous expression. And with this, with ET contact, with healing your DNA, with upgrading your DNA, once again, I cannot have the same thinking or mentality like, oh, I'm going to be able to solve this problem simply, upgrading my DNA. That sounds to me, wow, that sounds complicated. That seems really involved. I know I wouldn't probably be able to figure that out thinking that, right? I can't figure that out. I need someone to assist me with this. So I therefore have to go outside the box. I need to find somebody that has experience with doing this. I need someone around me that has done this with other people. Speak to them. What's their journey been like? How did they get out of this? How did they upgrade? How did they change their viewpoint on this? Because if you have the wrong people around you, especially if they're negative, or they're telling you you're crazy, or this didn't happen, you're imagining this. I unfortunately have seen, one is too many, but I've seen too many people either lose their life or go down a dark road because they did not do the work on working on themselves, reaching out for help and support, and they thought they could figure this out on their own, or they were just in complete denial. And yes, mental illness, all of these things involved too. All of these things can be activated here as well. It is important to check in with a regular therapist. I don't just do UFO contact and have support groups. Outside of this, I'm married to a mental health professional. But besides that, I always say to people, I highly recommend if you need to, you speak with a mental health professional or you go to the doctor. You might need to see a doctor to resolve something or to fix something. This isn't the answer for everything, but this can be a really interesting and cool tool to use when you need. I've been doing this a long time. So I'm at a little bit different of a space as far as feeling comfortable with accessing this stuff. Starting out using this right away, you got to look at the big picture and you got to integrate several things into your change, into your recovery, into your upgrading, whatever you'd like to call it. So, like I said, this is a very cool tool that we can use. And I wanted to ask you, as far as people with changing or upgrading their DNA, what have you seen as far as people that have come to you? Do you notice that if people came in with a negative experience or they were being abducted, do you notice that by them changing or upgrading their DNA, is this something that they have to do on a daily basis, weekly basis? Is it one time? How does this work for people that may not even know about this?
Yeah, I love that you asked that question, but also I want to add to this what you just said. I mean, one of the inherent natures of humanity is that at some point or other in our life, in our journey in our life, we ask the question about the purpose of our life, the nature of our existence. And I think that every human does cross that road. And when you have phenomena and experiences like this, it really pulls you in that direction, because you really want to understand what's beyond the veil, what's beyond these things. Everything that I thought was real, it goes into question. Religion, society, politics, everything that you think is real, the structure of your families, all of these things come into question when it's ET contact. So another thing is that these kinds of services actually, and what I see with my clients, it's not just about they come to me with ET contact experience, but they leave changing their lives because now that this weight is lifted, they find clarity, connection to themselves, empowerment. They can find the career that they're looking. Most people, this is an interesting phenomenon that happens with experiencers, that they actually find their purpose by going deeper into these deep questions about themselves. Sometimes they change their career, like I have, like you have. Like we both changed our careers completely. So these are not only tools, but they can be really healing, not only for the individual, but for the family of the individual as well. And remember that children, because we are an interconnected network with our children, they are highly advanced. And some of the most incredible sessions I've had are with children that are already completely aware. They don't have any filters or fears around the concept of interdimensionality because they are already experiencing things very visibly and they're not afraid to have that conversation. So, parents are learning from their kids, so yeah, so what are some of the things that occur in DNA reprogramming? DNA reprogramming essentially is epigenetic psychotherapy, where we take a look at the patterns and traits of trauma that are brought down intergenerationally. And most of these emotional blockages and traumas that we hold in our body intergenerationally usually end up manifesting in illnesses, stagnation in your life, deep depression, psychological blockages, physical ailments. So essentially, we want to find the root cause of those. And in addition to these things is interdimensional contact, because a lot of people recognize, and a lot of empaths, which are people that are highly sensitive, they realize that they have been very empathic most of their lives. Most people that end up with these symptoms are usually people that were highly interdimensional connected as children, but then because of family or trauma had to kind of close that in, and little by little there becomes a disassociation between their true core self and this idealized personality as a survival mechanism. So DNA reprogram is really about getting to that core true self and integrating, allowing it to flourish and to integrate into your everyday self. And essentially, people can heal illnesses. Okay, I've had people that have healed illnesses, people that have changed careers. Some people have left their marriages. Some people have found marriages or unions that are more in alignment. You know, these are at the core of our lives because we are dealing with core subconscious belief systems. And the nature of our reality is that it is created by subconscious belief systems. We create our reality through our subconscious. So everything we believe about ourselves subconsciously will either be a limit or it'll be a catapult into transformation and healing for an individual. So this is what DNA reprogramming is about. And it's really more about a new way of being, more conscious, being in a present moment, more aware, all the basic tools that I'm sure you teach in your intuitive development class, you know, are essential to having a healthy and holistic life. So this is really what it's about. It's not just a one-off thing. It's something that you teach for someone to continue to do.
Yeah, absolutely. That's good. That's, the expression one day at a time, or, the inside reflects the outside. I'm noticing that absolutely. If I feel off internally, it's probably something off externally. And having that awareness and being able to look at that, taking that extra moment, waking up in the morning before grabbing the phone and seeing the emails and the messages, taking that extra moment to just breathe, ground myself before I do anything in the morning, just meditate for a little while before I even get out of bed. That's it. Just nice and easy breathing before I'm getting into the normal rat race that we all have to incorporate into our lives. I have 3 children. Everyone's got stuff in their life. And that's one thing that I'm noticing too. People that are parents or people that have a lot going on, sometimes we deal with our stuff last. Oh, I have my children. Oh, I have my job. Oh, I have my second job. Oh, I'm just back to work. COVID ended. I mean, believe me, I've lived it. I've heard it. I've been through things in life, through growing up in New York and experiencing 9/11 from the perspective of a child whose father was at 9/11. He lived, he made it through there, but the after effect of that and seeing how people worked on themselves and took care of themselves, and then some people that didn't, and some people that still not, they're not well, and some people are not even alive today. So a light started to go off in my head. I didn't know what to do or where to go. I had to figure this out, but I said, there has to be another way. There's got to be a way out of this, whatever this is, this dream we're in, this fantasy, this reality, whatever this is. Things just weren't making sense. And when I went on that internal mission and started to look inside, my outside world started to change as well. Now, of course, life is going to bring whatever. COVID happens, you're in lockdown, you can't go anywhere. So yes, you might be stuck at home. You can always pick up a book. You could always read something online. There's free literature out there. There's tons of free things out there. Some of the best things that I've gotten on this journey have been for nothing. Things that I've just found to read. Someone reach out to me and talk to me for an hour or two when I was not having a good time or a good day. The support is so key in this. You don't have to go through this alone. So why? Why do it alone? If you don't have family, if you can't, if you don't have people around you that understand this or don't get this, there are people out there that will help you or talk to you for nothing. Some of them are in the chat right now, and they're, what's up to my buddy Buster in Canada. And there's people out there, even here in Australia, that I run into walking my dog, like my friend Angela. And that's interesting. So actually, there's a friend that's in the chat. I spoke at a conference that you did 2 years ago. And I remember one thing I did at the end of the conference, I gave away a free reading, which I love to do whenever I speak or I talk to people. And anyone that knows me, if somebody needed help, if somebody needed a reading, if somebody needed assistance, I will gladly help you. I've always been like that. I have helped people and done readings for ages. Of course, when I can, I'll just get to them and I'll help them and read, no problem. I would work, and then when I got out of work, I'd help somebody. That's what this is all about. We are here for each other. And I met somebody who's lovely and their whole family through that conference. I did a reading for someone. She's in the chat, our friend Ange, and we're friends still. We are still friends. We run into each other here. So it's amazing. Sometimes you don't realize people are literally down the block from you, or you're going to run into at the food store. It's incredible to go, wow, if I
Yeah.
did not do this and I didn't connect with people, I would have no idea that they were into the stuff. If I just saw them in the food store, people say, oh, you're psychic, you must, walk around and know everything. And no, it doesn't work like that. I've learned over the years how to turn this on and off. If I had 24/7 psychic contact and UFO contact, that'd be too much. It'd be overwhelming. I wouldn't be able to live like that. I wouldn't be able to function. So if you are experiencing that, or you are getting information or downloads or trauma or anything through this, I want to reinforce there are ways to turn this on and off. And there are people that know how to do it. I've done it in New York. I've done it in Australia. I've done it when I had to go to a fire. I've done it at a fire where I've had to listen to that voice to tell me don't do something. And then I've had times where I've had to tune that voice off and say, not right now. I need to be present in the moment. I have something with my kids or whatever it is. So you learn that more and more as you go on this journey, that you are in control of this. You are in control of, I believe, at least we play a big part to do with this.
Oh,
I am not God. I don't try to pretend to be God. But yes, I've noticed that when I took more the stance of taking the bull by the horns and dictating how I wanted to have my life play out, or a route I wanted to go, or things I wanted to manifest or create. Absolutely. One time we definitely have to do a show on manifesting. There are so many incredible things that I have literally written down and created into this reality, because I've realized that all potential was around us at all the times. Once I pulled in these realistic outcomes, I was able to see, wow, okay, this can happen in my life. I can meet that right person now. And I still do it to this day to get this message out. This is, once again, you and I are sitting here. I'm in Melbourne, Australia. You're in California. What are the chances that we'd be sitting doing this? If it wasn't for this or this, the UFO and psychic phenomena, I probably would never have met you, but this is how it is. So it's meant to be. So follow that synchronicity. And if it's meant to be, you will be able to do things like this. You'll talk to people and realize, wow, I have similar energy, or I'm around somebody that I can talk to about this. I could talk publicly about this. This is not an easy thing to talk about publicly. I mean, I know you know this too. And I have people all the time reminding me, thank you so much for talking about this. I can't do what you're doing, but I respect what you're doing, and please keep doing it. And I will never stop talking about this, because I have more and more people that have come along over the years reinforcing this to me, through guys I worked at in the firehouse, to people I worked at within a funeral home, to people that are my next door neighbor. Literally, I would not have thought moving in here I'd talk to my neighbors about this stuff. We do. Oh, we're totally open about this. It's amazing. There is no coincidence right now where I'm living in this moment of my life that I could go outside and talk to my neighbor about this. To say, oh, Andrew, how's the stuff going? How's the contact going? And I could see them looking out at night, looking up in the sky when there's UFOs there that I'm making contact. And it's all good. The chances that had happened, I believe that we play a major role in creating these type of outcomes and these type of environments. It may not happen in the moment, but if you are patient, you can say, okay, I want this outcome to happen, but not immediately. I'm willing to go on the journey and wait and do the tough work and do the soul work, do the work on yourself. When you start to do that, you will see by doing that, you're putting yourself in a better situation. You're raising your vibration. You're getting better. You're getting healthier. You're getting clearer. You're able to see things from a better, clearer perspective. Therefore, you're able to utilize the things that are around you, pull them into your reality. And now you're getting a better outcome with them. Because someone told me this once, a therapist said, Andrew, a girl that's a 2, a girl that's a 10 is not going after a guy that's a 2. And right now, you're probably not a 10, Andrew, okay? But I don't expect you to wait till a 10. So why don't you just wait till you're like a 7, 6 or a 7, then go out and, okay, get where you need to go. Because we've been through trauma. A lot of my trauma is associated in the past with people I've loved and people I grew up with that died. I had a relative die very young. I had a best friend die at 5, a best friend die at 13. I got all sorts of interesting things that have happened. I am not special. I am not unique. We all are. We all are special and unique. We all have an amazing story. And we realize that by sharing these things, when we can identify on death and on trauma and look into the stuff and heal and grow from it and share it. This is something I didn't talk about. I didn't share. I felt we had talking about it years ago. Now I'm open about it. And then I meet people who go, oh yeah, I lost somebody too young. Wow. I always wondered about life, extraterrestrial life. What about our loved ones? Are they around us? Yes. And you realize this amazing feeling and healing and connection by this. When you share your story, you realize you're not alone. You're not going on this journey alone. And you form these amazing bonds with people. And I feel that, yeah, there's a chance that we might have been in another life, maybe before this or even after this, we're going to another life and we might run into these people again. But what I definitely know is right now, I have these bonds with these people right now, and we are doing the work and growing and healing and sharing this stuff. And it's a beautiful thing to see. And the narrative on this, Geraldine, has definitely shifted, at least where I am in Australia. I could say the conversation's changed to not talking about it, don't say anything, to now relatives, neighbors are asking me all sorts of questions. They want to know everything. What about these balloons or UFOs in the sky? What are they? What are they really? And I say, well, if the real thing was there, it just vanished. It wouldn't be getting shot down. Believe me, because I've seen them come and they're just gone. So
Exactly.
whatever it is,
Yeah.
I would just say this. I would just want to be very careful about firing a weapon at anything or anyone. I think the way to go about this, like anything, like a human or an animal or whatever it is, especially if we don't know what it is through do this in peace and love. And having that is through CE5, having that peaceful intention, setting out a peaceful intention into the universe and getting that validation back in response by seeing a craft or feeling an internal feeling. That is the way that we can all come together. Instead of dividing what it is or where that, forget about that. Why don't we come together and peacefully say, okay, we're here and we come in peace. I think that's a great example and great model for humanity, for number one, for where we are at currently as a society worldwide. What a great thing if people were able to put their weapons down and say, hey, I'm just here. Let's sort this out instead of harming each other, hurting each other, saying negative things about each other. I mean, what are you noticing in America? Do you think the narrative has shifted and the conversation is starting to change for you?
It's interesting. Of course, I'm deeply into these circles of ET contact, but I think people are absolutely more receptive. They're more open, as I mentioned. I mean, it used to be that in large conference groups, not too many people would raise their hand and talk about it. But now it's like a lot of people are just, me too. I also have had contact. I've also had that's happened to me, and not even when I'm in conferences of ET contact, just in general, like spirituality or healing or different kind of topics, people know that I'm a contactee and they're so anxious to share their story. I One of the shows that we did on Travel Channel went out internationally. I don't know, to maybe another level of different countries. My gosh, I had hundreds of emails from around the world, people that were experiencing. They're like, this happened to me. Here's what happened to me. I know this. Tell me what you think. People are looking for support. So what's really important right now is that people that are focused on love and unity consciousness are providing these spaces for creating a community of information and support. Because when we go to groups that are kind of more about separation and fear uh, disempowerment, you can very easily get stuck in this black hole of disinformation. So it's also very important to practice discernment when you're trying to find support, and try to always find the highest vibration of truth that you can, and practice this intuition. And of course, after I'm a really great big supporter of understanding that you are your greatest source of information. So if for any reason you are not able to access one of these groups, remember that you can always sit in meditation. You can always go inside, and this is your infinite source of information. That's how I did it. And I know many people do access the information that way. So I invite you to learn how to meditate and take time for yourself. So things are changing. Things are very clearly changing in our world.
That's excellent because I noticed that too through sitting with myself or even people that I meet when they sit alone with themselves. They feel like, wow, I kind of knew this deep down. Like I had this feeling, but I just needed some validation. But I kind of knew deep down I had this thought that I was on the right track or this didn't make sense or it did make sense.
Every
And
time.
yes, this is that process of rediscovering what we already are. It's like we knew all along. When we look back and go, oh my God, I knew something like this. I can look back and say that. When you're going through it, you're going through trauma or a weird time in life, sometimes it's tough and sometimes it's difficult. And yes, you do need those moments as well to sit in your space and to be alone. Sometimes the best silence, the best recovery from something I've gotten is just checking out and being alone, and nothing, turning off the phone, turning off social media, nothing. I don't recommend doing that for a long time, because you got to be careful. You don't want to go down that dark hole, but that is appropriate at times. And you'll also know what your limitations are. Okay, if I'm going through something, I can sit and meditate for, 20 minutes or whatever time you got. Sit for an hour, go ahead, great. But eventually, after a day or two, all right, now I got to keep it moving. I got to get back to it. Now I got to talk about this. Now I got to check in with my therapist. Now I have to go call a relative, whatever works for you. If you don't know what works for you, great. You could discover things. If something is good or there's a good intention, great. You probably have a good chance that you're going to get something good out of it. Of course, if it's not good, you're probably going to get something bad out of it. So use, like you said, use a little discernment. If you think, I know I shouldn't be doing this and you're going to do it anyway, and you get a negative outcome, whoa, you might want to put that to the side. That's why it's good to have that support around for when you're running things by people, that have more experience with this. They could say to you, I tried that. That just didn't work for me. If it works for you, okay. But I've noticed that I've just gotten very bad results. I didn't feel good from that. And you're noticing that too. Maybe that's something you want to stay away from. I'm not a doctor. If there's something physiologically wrong with you, you need to go to the doctor. I just went to the doctor this morning. It's a totally normal thing. Yes, I do go to the doctor. I do get checkups. Absolutely. I do not have all the answers. I do not see everything all the time. That does not happen. It doesn't work like that. I have to live in this confines here in 3D reality as well, like anyone else. But I've just noticed that with tuning in and tapping into this other stuff, I have gotten more desirable outcomes personally. And it has had a beautiful ripple effect on my friends and family that are immediately around me. And, it's just absolutely beautiful to see people around you change. And if you're in a good space, it's probably going to have a pretty good effect on the people around you, as opposed to being in that dark space or confused or angry or upset. I'm not saying to, sign out of this podcast and to leave the partner you're with. That is not always the answer. Sometimes that radical change is not the good thing. Once again, you need to sit sometimes at yourself. You need to look in the mirror and say, all right, this is the person that's going to get me out of it. I have not seen Jesus Christ or Archangel Michael land and fix anything for me. That's just me personally. I'm the one that's had to do it. Yes, they might be able to influence. They might be able to provide something, a little insight or something positive. But when it comes down to it, I need to do what I got to do to get things done. No one's going to do it for me. So through adding that and integrating that with the spiritual element, yes, you can have these amazing outcomes. You could change or you cannot. And you could retreat and go back and take steps back. That's part of the journey. That's part of this experience, is having that check-in too sometimes. You're going to go through that. I've been doing this stuff for a while. So I know that roller coaster of the spirituality and going through all of these things and going public, not going public. You don't want anything to do with it at times. Now I'm way beyond that. And what I've seen years ago, I had a vision. I met Mary Rodwell in 2017. I said to her, Mary, I don't know you. I just met you. I go, but I'm getting a download. I'm seeing something. And what I see is I'm sharing my story. I'm talking about this, and it's to a massive amount of people. Somehow this message is going to get out. I'm going to talk to people, whether it's at like a giant conference or on some show or something like that. And somehow you're involved, but I don't know this person. Well, fast forward 6 years later to 2023. If you look at Close Encounters Down Under, episode 4, it just happens to be my UFO footage and my story are in this episode on a TV series here on A&E. It's going to be on channel 7, mate, and it'll be on YouTube, eventually worldwide. It's on all my social medias, my website, thepsychicfirefighter.com. I speak, I share my story, and who do they have talking about it? Mary Rodwell. They have her talking about it, who, she has met a lot of experiences like myself. She's someone I went to early on in this journey when I said, what's going on? I trying to get answers. This stuff is so weird. Please help me. That's how it started. Like, help me, give me some answers. To now, I could call Mary up on the phone and have a normal conversation about my daughter and not even talk about that stuff. You know what I mean? So you'll connect with these people and you'll form these amazing friendships and these bonds that you wouldn't form regularly with other people out there. But this one element connects you, but you see it's deeper than that. It's not just about contact. Like my friend Angie, your friend Angie, she can come over my house. We could talk about my daughter. She brought a book over for my daughter last time I saw her. I mean, it's beyond that. You know what I mean? Like, it's deeper than that. And we're here for each other on a soul level, on a spiritual level. We're all on this journey. We all have our families, but yet this one thing connected us and will always be there no matter what. It's the unspoken thing. You don't have to say anything when you're around these people. You just know. They know. It's like the knowing. I know they know about how weird this is and everything else that comes along with it. And we're going to be wrapping up here pretty soon. I just wanted to thank you, number one, Geraldine, for coming on. And if there was any last words that you had, and I appreciate everyone in the chat here. Any questions that are up, anyone wants to reach out to us or has questions, I will answer whatever questions I'll put up in the chat. Thank you so much. If you want to contact me or Geraldine, we both have websites. Our links are on all our social media apps. If you need help with anything, please feel to reach out to either of us. I'm in Melbourne, Australia. Geraldine's in California. We both have Zoom, so we can meet internationally anywhere. You know how it is today's day and age, and I'll let Geraldine say what she has to say. And that's that for today. Thank you so much.
Yeah, just thank you so much for having me. It's been such an honor. And if you need to reach out to me, you can reach out at geraldineorozco.com, as it's listed here in the name. And if you want to join the support group, you can join at hybridmother.com. And just really excited to connect with Andrew and do some work. He's amazing. And yeah, we'll see what else we do in the future. So thank you so much. And I'll see you soon.
Yeah, we've been talking about this a long time. So it's finally great after all these years to finally get it going, and let's just do it. So thank you once again. I want to thank everyone that tuned in, and we'll see you soon for episode 2. So thank you very much. Send all your feedback. We'd love to hear it. Thanks, guys.